Good evening. My name is Maciej Leszek HYZY. I'm from Gdańsk University Management Faculty. Together with my colleague Ms. Ewa Spigarska, we wrote an article entitled Assessing the Impact of the COVID-19 Pandemic and the War in Ukraine on the performance of transport and logistic companies listed on the Polish Stock Exchange and NewConnect. The main purpose of the article is to examine whether crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine have significantly affected the financial situation of these companies. There are the following sub-hypotheses are set in the article. Firstly, the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine have significantly affected the financial performance, sales volume, profitability and turnover of Polish transport and logistic companies listed on the Polish Stock Exchange and NewConnect. The second sub-hypothesis is that the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine have significantly affected the liquidity of Polish TSL companies listed on the Polish Stock Exchange and NewConnect. During our article, we made a review of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine on the financial situation of various companies. Articles published so far have highlighted the following issues. Firstly, the clearly negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the financial situation of the surveyed companies. Secondly, analysis of a government financial assistance and tax breaks for companies affected by COVID-19 pandemic. Third, verification of going concern in companies listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Fourth, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the liquidity of the surveyed companies. 5. Increased frequency of asset impairment reporting. And lastly, uncertainty related to the war in Ukraine and its impact on the functioning of the German economy. Conclusion from table 1, which is entitled Net Revenues and Profits of Companies in the Transport and Logistics Sector in 2022 and 2024. 5 companies out of the 12 surveyed showed a decline in net revenues, accounting for 41.66% of the surveyed companies, including 2 companies that stopped reporting financial data due to their difficult financial situation, Posta and XBS Prolog SA. Only 1 company showed a sharp increase in revenue of 558.09%, Enter ASA. In contrast, the overall decline in revenues across the industry is very worrisome, particularly noticeable in 2023, where the decline in revenues compared to 2022 was a -4.64%. Inextricably linked to the revenues net profit, there was a worrying situation with this category as well. On the other hand, considering net profit, it should be noted that the worst situation is in 2024, where as many as 6 companies show a decrease in profit in 2024 compared to 2023, which is as much as 50% of the surveyed companies. And additionally, 2 companies stopped reporting the amount of profit due to the difficult financial situation. The average growth rate of profit in 2023 decreased by 10.31 percentage points compared to 2020. On the other hand, it is very interesting to note that in 2021 and 2022, there was an increase in profit in the analyzed industry. This is due to the internal differentiation of the industry under study. The worst situation is in transport companies such as PKP Cargo in restructuring. Net profit dynamics in 2024 compared to 2023 was 3,038.61%, or Auto Logistics SA. Net profit dynamics in 2024 compared to 2023 was 105.75%. On the other hand, there is a noticeable increase in the dynamics of net profit in courier service companies. The dynamics of net profit in 2024 compared to 2023 in the selected companies was PointPack SA plus 5,262.50% courier services, and 4Posta plus 987.61% delivery services. Conclusion from Table 2. Table 2 is concerning average growth rates of annual revenue for 3 and 5 years. It is worth noting the negative values of the average growth rate of annual revenues for 3 years for the entire industry for 2022 and 2024, comparing this with the individual data of the surveyed companies, where in 2024 only 2 companies also show a negative result, and 2 due to the difficult financial situation do not monitor. The analyzed indicator means that the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine had a negative impact on the financial situation of the surveyed companies. Additionally, for example, Auto Logistics average annual revenue growth rate for 3 years in 2024 was minus 25.9%. Poland's largest and most versatile port operator said that the generally prevailing geopolitical situation and changing supply chains are negatively affecting their financial situation. On the other hand, what is a threat can be an opportunity for other companies. Such a situation exists at PointPack. Average annual revenue growth rate for 3 years in 2024 was plus 43.71%, which specialized in sending or receiving courier shipments. Due to the COVID-19 situation and the type of business it conducts, the company shows stable revenue growth in 2020 to 2024 from 25.03% to as much as 31.31% in 2023 compared to 2022. The indicator then comprehensively captures the period under study in the average annual growth rate of annual revenues for 5 years. The result for 2024 is between minus 20.09% and 57.88%, excluding companies that lost their business opportunities in compared to 2020, where it was between minus 9.07% and 63.60%. It should be noted that overall the situation has worsened. Negative points fell by 11.02 percentage points, while the upper limit fell by 5.73 percentage points. In 2020, 3 surveyed companies showed a negative score, while in 2024, there were 5 such companies and an additional 1 company that no longer reports, such as a Parcel Technic SA. This means that in terms of revenue performance, the financial situation has deteriorated in the majority of transportation and logistic companies, especially in land transport companies. Next, we will present Table 3, Operating Flows and the net profits at transportation and logistic companies in 2022 and 2024. The conclusions are following. Based on the data in Table 3, it is important to note a very worrying situation in terms of operating cash flow. As many as 6 companies out of 11 that showed results in 2024 showed a decrease in cash flow in 2024 compared to 2023. It should also be noted the lack of stability in the development of operating income in the surveyed companies over the analyzed years. This is most noticeable in 2 of the surveyed companies, where the dynamics of operating income fluctuated greatly in selected years. Kupiec S.A. plus 2,598.17% in 2021, minus 46.41% in 2024. Parcel Technic S.A. minus 650% in 2020, plus 2,470.37% in 2023, and minus 103.88% in 2024. Also, many of the other companies show once positive and once negative results, except that the differences are not as great as in the case of the 2 companies mentioned above. This means that the results obtained are directly influenced by the detailed range of services the companies provide, and the instability of the economic environment is not conducive to even growth in operating income. The final conclusions are the following. On the basis of the empirical research conducted, it is necessary to conclude that there are large fluctuations in the development of revenues, profits, liquidity, or return on assets in the surveyed companies. This means that the unstable economy, including COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine, directly affect the stability of the business activities of the surveyed companies in the transport and logistics sector in 2020 and 2024. The research shows that the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine have significantly affected the financial performance, sales volume, profitability, and turnover of Polish transport and logistic companies listed on the Polish and NewConnect stock exchange. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine significantly affected the liquidity of Polish transport and logistic companies listed on the Polish stock exchange and NewConnect. Thank you for your attention.